Welcome to the High Impact Man podcast. High impact men from across the nation sharing their stories of inspiration, encouragement, and hope.
Gosh, seek transformational relationships.
That what you're hearing from the culture is not right. Pick up the six, you know what I mean? But you never know who your six sometimes is.
Stop being less.
To help others become the virtuous leaders they're called to be and that our nation desperately needs.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the High Impact Man podcast. This is Nevin Gorky, known as Defib to a lot of you guys out there in the F3 world. Well, all of you guys in the F3 world. I'm joined as always. Not always. We've had some technical issues lately, but now we think we've got them figured out. And Dial Up is here, loud and in control here of all the tech stuff. And he's also known as Troy Klinger to people not of the F3 world. And today is December 30th, 2024. This will be the last episode we're recording in 2024. I think this one will air, who knows what order they come in, because we're doing two tonight. I never know which order they come out in, but this will either air on this coming Monday or the Monday afterward. And if you're listening to this or watching us, Penn State Nittany Lions are playing tomorrow night in the quarterfinals of the national championship playoff system in the college football world. So we're excited about that up here in Pennsylvania. Dial Up, you still haven't been over my house to see the new setup, but that's okay. I got a fireplace that I can make the flames and the logs look blue. They're going to be roaring blue tomorrow next to the canvas painting I have on the wall of an aerial photo of a whiteout game. So I know all of you out there are jealous of Defib's man cave, but that's okay. One day maybe you'll have one too.
Who's hosting a New Year's Eve party? Are you having it, or is Boss Hog?
Well, the M said that we're not doing it.
Well, she's no fun.
I don't know. The Boss Hogs are going to church for a nighttime bonfire. Maybe Laura's singing or something like that. So I don't know what's happening. All I know is I'll be parked on my recliner in front of that 85-inch TV. Which, oh, by the way, just got surround sound watching the game tomorrow night.
Well,
and maybe I'll be awake at midnight, and maybe not.
Thanks for the invite. I guess I'll go to the Dunkles, my neighbors.
Listen. I think you can come over. Okay, I'm gonna sneak it in. The M's not, she's going to know, but it'll be okay. It'll be all right. If you have nowhere to go, I want you to come over because I love you, brother, and you can come watch the Penn State game. But I can't have a party.
Hey, the really cool thing is if they win, they will play on January 9th in Miami. And you know where I am until the 10th.
You are in Florida.
I am in Florida.
And you're going to be in Orlando.
There's already been some discussions that could be a little road trip down to, what bowl is that?
Not for nothing, but I'm pretty sure they were building it. I think they finished it. I think there's a train that runs from Orlando to Miami now.
Sweet.
Just saying.
Anyway, so so might have to pack the old Penn State jersey to take it with us.
Yeah, Bing, you're probably not going to hear this until it's too late, but Dial Up's going to be in Clearwater.
He knows.
What, I'm leaving first?
Yeah, he knows. We've already chatted.
All right. I'm pretty sure there's an AO. Did you check it out? I think there's an AO in Clearwater.
There is, yeah. There's Thursday and Friday would be the options. I could do something there. So I'm hoping I can catch up with Bing at some point. The last I saw, is he still over in Europe? I think. Yeah,
he's over in Paris, living the good life. His daughter's over there in school. But anyway, I know the rest of the people listening to us are just anxious to hear about our guest today. Our guest today, we just plucked him right from our own backyard here. He's Dr. Jonathan Spar. He's known as Aquaman to the men of F3 Susquehanna Valley. And I'm just going to read a little bit of who he is. So he's a physician. He's a pediatric pulmonologist. And he's been the interim director of pediatric nephrology, which I didn't know. I don't know. The lungs are far from the kidney. We'll have to find out about that one. But he's also the director of pediatric pulmonology and the cystic fibrosis center director at Geisinger Medical Center. He's an associate professor at Geisinger Commonwealth School of Medicine. He's authored a lot of articles, textbook chapters, and done a lot of studies and research. But his love is treating kids with cystic fibrosis. And I could tell you he's got a heart of gold. He's been a great addition to our packs in the Susquehanna Valley. He's a squad leader. Dial Up, when he took over as Nantan, decided he was going to break the packs up into squads, 4 different squads, each one having a squad leader. Aquaman took over for Porky's when Porky's headed south down to Myrtle Beach to retire in the sun. And he took over the squad who has the name Fornicolas, which is a story in itself, but we won't go there. Anyway, I'm supposed to be the leader of the squad leaders, and I've been stinking it up for the last year doing that. I got to do better with that. But that's what he does, and he does more. I mean, the guy just found out today. Dial Up, you put out the statistics. For the first time ever in the history of Susquehanna Valley F3, somebody other than the name Dial Up or Tomater had the most posts for a year.
Yeah. He was.
Is that true?
Are always there when I'm there. So yeah, that was a surprise to me, to be honest with you.
How many posts was it, Dial Up? What was the number?
180 something, 185, 186 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be it then. Yeah, because I'm not going to go tomorrow.
Yeah, and that
Okay.
Not. We expanded our AOs and opportunities throughout the.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we used to only really have 4 options a week, so to get that many was almost impossible. But yeah, you crushed it. Yeah, I don't know. I had a couple weeks where I was like sick and missed, and then I was away a bunch of weeks. Like I just did not hit the numbers that I have in the past.
Excuses.
It is. They're all excuses. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I think we've had the Tuesday, Thursday beatdowns. I think we've had them for over a year. So we had them for a while. The Thursday morning out at the rat cage, that's a new one.
Yeah.
And Trailblazer, was that about a year old, something like that? So
Less than
2 options back to back on Saturdays.
Yeah,
along with one every Monday through Friday.
Consistency this year. That's the key thing.
Absolutely.
Beat out later. Congrats.
Yeah. Well, we can't play the game of guess how our guest got his F3 name because we named him and we know why he got the name Aquaman. So we'll just let him tell you. So first of all, Aquaman, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
And tell us your F3 origin story for everybody out there. They love hearing these stories. So who EH'd you? When did you join us? And how'd you get your name?
Well, so I think actually it was Dial Up's wife who probably should get the credit for EHing me. We were at a cross-country banquet, which is held out at the Montreux Preserve, which is just a nice place to run. And I was running a lap with her, and she was talking about the Blue Ridge Relay and really talking it up and talking about this F3 thing that I'd never heard of before. I think I might have seen you guys down at the middle school on a Saturday. I usually run in the mornings and usually around that area. And so she just put the nugget in my brain probably a few months before then Thanksgiving weekend, doing a run down there. And it was Uno, I think. I was running by and someone yelled out, "Come join us." I said, "Yeah, maybe next week." And then
I was there that day.
Well, the funny thing is I had his 2.0 with me that day in New York City to watch Peloton's son run in a cross-country race.
Yeah. So I show up to drop Dane, my son Dane off at Wise Markets for the drop off, to go to that New York City race. And I was like, I've heard about this F3 thing. Can you tell me a little bit more to Dial Up? And he's like, yeah, come join us. And so, I'm going to give credit to Wi-Fi, Janine, for EHing me, because that's the first I heard about F3. But then it was just in my face for a few weeks. And so, I decided to join.
Yeah, baby. So Dial Up is named, we gave her a name Wi-Fi because she's faster than Dial Up.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. That's my second favorite F3 name now. My first is what you named my daughter this past week.
Gingivitis.
Gingivitis, yes.
So for those that haven't heard this before, on Christmas Day, we have the tradition of having a beatdown in early morning on Christmas Day, but the families are invited, so the wives and kids can come. So that's what we do on Christmas Day. And we had like 13 or 14 people there, but Aquaman's whole family was there.
Yeah.
His wife and 3 kids. So 3 2.0s, 2.0, 2.1, 2.2, and his M, and he was there. So great showing by the Spar family.
Yeah.
Yeah, they loved it. Yeah, they know how much this means to me. So they were there. They wanted to see me in my element.
And
yeah.
Aquaman.
Dial Up took it easy on us that day, though.
I did
because he had the cue.
I did. It wasn't a hard workout. I kept it very family friendly. But the best part was that his kids were sore.
Yes, they were.
Even though it wasn't a real hard beatdown, they were sore. So he got to that's what I just do every day.
Did
you tell him that's just a warm up for you? Because we had your girls doing Merkins. They probably don't do a lot of upper body stuff, so
not do that.
that'd be a challenge. All right. Well, tell everybody how you got Aquaman.
I got Aquaman. I showed up for my first beatdown, and it was Big Green leading it. It was a wet day. I did not get Aquaman because it was a wet day, but I told everybody that I was a swimmer and I helped coach the high school swim team here, and so Aquaman was the obvious choice. I didn't. Yeah, that was how I got it, I guess.
Was I there?
Yeah, you were actually, because we ran in the pre-run before it was Trailblazers, so it was a pre-run. It wasn't an official workout at that time. We ran together, and I remember you saying, "Oh yeah, I know you. I'm Nevin Gorky, PA and CTVS," and it's like, "Oh yeah, I
Right.
remember you from residency." So
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
I'm much older than Aquaman, so I knew him when he was a resident.
Oh, you're not much older. Come on.
What, 6 years?
No, you're 57, right?
58.
All right, 6 years then.
but
Yeah, Aquaman's 52.
Defib, you're a superhero guy, so my instincts tell me that you probably said Aquaman whenever they talked about swimming.
Wow. Maybe I did. I don't even.
I wasn't there for his first.
I don't remember either. Actually, I think it was you and G-Ray. Actually, I think both of you, and then Big Green was like, "Yep, that's what we're doing. Going with Aquaman."
Good
Yeah,
name.
I do like the superheroes, but yeah, I don't remember. I may have done it. I don't even know.
I'm just,
You're lucky because lately I've been doing, more interesting names. So, I've given out Dancing Queen and Wonder Pickle. So
yeah. Well, your best is definitely gingivitis, even though it doesn't really count because it's for my daughter. But
yeah, I know. But I confessed to you on Saturday morning, Dial Up. I'll tell you now. I'll confess across to the public airways. His daughter is in dental school, okay, and she's a ginger. Her hair is red, ginger. And I said, "Oh, her name's got to be gingivitis," and I had no thought of ginger. I just said gingivitis, but y'all thought I said gingivitis, and it even got quoted by guys that weren't there that said, "That's the brilliant name. Who did that?" So I get the credit, but I honestly wasn't saying gingivitis. I was just saying gingivitis.
Where I heard ginger, because I think I might have been the first. Gingivitis, that's a great name.
Yeah, you did. You said that. All right, we'll go with that. I did say that then. Okay, good. How long ago was it that you joined us the first time? How many years have you been doing it?
It was like the weekend after Thanksgiving 2 years ago, right? I think so.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And you bought in pretty quickly. I mean, you were. It wasn't like you showed up and didn't show up for a while and that kind of thing. You just started coming.
No, it was like I was looking for it. Yeah, it's definitely something that I needed.
Yeah, we'll come back to that, but we get you on here to tell your story, so let me give you an opportunity to do that. So, Dr. Spar grew up in Danville. His father was a physician at the hospital. I knew his dad; he was a neonatologist, and of course, Aquaman became a doctor as well. He did some years as a medical student at Geisinger and your residency at Geisinger. Your fellowship out in Wisconsin, is that right? And you got your first job out in Pittsburgh. That's sort of the career. But tell us what life was like growing up here in Danville.
Oh, it was nice. I mean, it was one of those situations where, we're raising our kids in Madison, Wisconsin, and Pittsburgh, and they had great upbringings there. But I would always kind of think back to, I remember growing up in Danville, and I wish my kids had that same experience. Just a small town, lots of opportunities as far as sports and activities are concerned. Good people. Big enough that you could find things to do, but small enough that, everybody was helping to raise you. That type of atmosphere is just a great town.
Yeah, small town USA, baby.
Yeah.
When I first moved here in '91, I remember getting out of the OR kind of late at night. I forget what time it was, but it was well into the evening. And I was really hungry, and I think it was a Friday. And so I went to BJ's, which is a local establishment, a steak and rib joint. And I'm sitting at a table right by a window, and the window overlooks the main street in Danville called Mill Street. And I look out, and these people in costumes and stuff are parading past the window. Like, what the heck is that? It was a Halloween parade. Never knew such a thing existed. And I'm just watching this, and there's like the whole town shows up for that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And it takes that darn parade is the longest parade ever. It's as long as the Macy's Day Parade.
Yeah. They have bands from neighboring towns come over to play in the parade. Yeah, it's a great time. And now my kids are getting to experience it. So it's fantastic.
By the way, Dial Up, we need to get a float. We need to do something, and we talked about it before. We never did it.
Yeah, we thought about doing the truck pull, but the downside to that is the Mill Street's downhill. So it would
Yeah,
be
well,
very.
somebody has to have the.
It wouldn't be very impressive for us to be pulling a truck
Well,
out.
maybe
We'd have to
maybe
hold it back.
We'd be holding it.
pull it from behind so we're not running people over.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we could think of things to do. I think, we could just stop every once in a while and
Just do a little CO.
burst out a quick circle of pain and, move down a little bit further, that kind of thing.
All right. Next year.
Yeah. And throw out candy to the kids, right?
And business cards.
Yeah, that's right. And F3 cards to all the men and the ladies, right? They usually EH their husbands. All right. So you grew up in Danville, a small town, USA. Do you swam in high school? Did you play any other sports?
Yeah, I ran cross country not well, and I played tennis. But yeah, we got a swim team my senior year, so I decided to join mainly so I could get a prom date, but also thought it would be good exercise, and I actually ended up being pretty decent at it. So I ended up swimming in college too, P3, but I was good enough that I could be on a team.
Well, wait a minute. Who was this girl that you were trying to get a prom date with? Was she on the swim team too?
Pretty much the whole girls team. I would,
You were casting a wide net.
Desperation mode is.
Yeah, actually, it was myself and a couple other guys. We were runners. Jamie was a very good runner, and Perry was better than me too, but not that great. But yeah, we all needed prom dates, and no one was signing up for the swim team, so we figured that would be, a good place to find a prom date.
Did it work? Did you get a prom date?
I did, but not actually I had a prom date, not from the swim team, but it was my teammate's sister that I went to the prom with that year. So
okay, all right, so it sort of worked out. Well, so all of you high school aged boys out there, future men that are listening to this, that's a pretty good plan, right? I mean, you get to see the girls in swimsuits, and you get to hang out with them and swim with them and stuff. And what better way to, sort of evaluate what's available and who you want to ask out to the prom. Good idea.
Yeah, you're
good idea.
No more vulnerable than that than when you're in a Speedo. So I mean, you can find a prom date where you're wearing a Speedo.
I was in the pool.
Shrinkage. Now, clearly they're evaluating you as well.
This was taken aback.
Let's not kid ourselves.
I can't tell you how many times I had to say, "Ladies, my eyes are up here."
All right. Well, now before we leave this topic, I gotta know. I didn't swim in high school. I played basketball, but the pool was right by the back. We shared the locker room with the swim team, the boys swim team, and before districts, they're all in the freaking shower, sitting on the floor naked, shaving each other. All right. Now, did you do that?
It really does happen. Yes.
Wait, were they really naked and shaving each other? Like this really has.
Yeah, man.
That doesn't
Ask Aquaman.
happen. You can still wear your swimsuit because you're just shaving the area that is not.
Maybe they had Speedos on. I couldn't look that long.
Shaving each other sounds just a little weird.
Yeah, that's. Yeah.
All I know is I didn't want to go in there. Fortunately, we had a couple different shower areas, and I didn't go in there. That was that was a little too odd for me.
Actually, had a bald head 2 years in a row in college. Yeah, that was a time when my mom looked at me and she said, "Jonathan, you are so ugly." My own mother. But yeah, I don't have a head that's good for baldness, so thankfully I'm still
got a good head of hair.
Still keeping some.
Yeah. Aquaman's 52, and he's still got some nice locks. All right. We went off to college. Where'd you go to college?
Dickinson College in Carlisle.
What? Say it again. Dickinson, right? Is that somehow related to Penn State?
Through the law school. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew the law school was.
Yep. And in fact, how did it happen? So it was Penn State's law school in Carlisle, but it's Dickinson School of Law. And now I think Penn State has two law schools or two campuses, one in Carlisle, and I think they have one in State College now, don't they?
I have no idea.
It happened just recently that that they expanded their law degree.
That sounds right. Because isn't that where
all right,
Boss Hogg's son's at Dickinson, right?
Oh, really? For law school?
I think.
I don't know. I can't remember.
I thought he was. Could be wrong.
Use or
no? It would be Yeah, Deuce wants to be a physician assistant. Deuce is the lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll research that. Get back to the
Yeah.
boat.
I don't know where he went. Maybe that might be true. Yeah. All right. So you swam at Dickinson. What was your best events?
I did sprints, but backstroke is where they put me in. If they needed a backstroker for a relay or they needed to fill the backstroke spot, that was me. I was pretty decent at it. When you start
I would.
swimming, you have to either do backstroke or freestyle. We call it the crawl stroke. Because breaststroke and butterfly, they require too much coordination, and I just didn't have it. Didn't have years of experience to hone that stroke. So backstroke and crawl stroke were my strokes.
Gotcha. I think you'd be a good triathlete. I mean, you could run, you could swim. I don't know how much you bike, but I know you bike a little bit. But did you ever do a triathlon? I don't even know.
Yeah, actually, and I was pretty decent at biking. So the first two legs were good, swimming and biking, and then I got to the run, and I could do okay, but that's where people passed me.
Well, there couldn't have been that many because you could run pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you need to be a good runner for triathlon. No?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bring it home.
All right. We lost Dial Up.
I know.
Poor guy.
Am I
We
back?
thought we had his technical bugs figured out, but he's gone again, folks. I don't know. Hopefully, we'll get him back. I'm sure he's working feverishly at it right now.
I was just seeing that half of his face for a while, and then like all of a sudden, all of him is gone.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's happening. But he should get Wi-Fi to help him because he clearly
Exactly.
can't figure this out.
Call the help desk.
All right. Well, we'll see. I'm sure he'll get back here somehow. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. Anyway, college. And so what got you interested in medicine? I know your dad was a doctor, but what was the reason you got into medicine?
Yeah, I mean, it's all I knew growing up. You grow up in Danville, Pennsylvania, where there's Geisinger, and everybody is, in the medical field, pharmacy, physician, nurse, respiratory therapy. All your friends' parents were in the field because that was the big industry here in Danville. So when I went to college, I looked at other things, history, teaching, those types of things, but I always came back to science. It was the thing that I got the most, and it was just easier for me than some of the other classes that I was taking.
Yeah. Were you always a good student?
I was willing to work hard. That, things didn't come like super easy to me. I had to work hard, but I was fortunate to get into medical school, and I knew I was fortunate in the medical school, and so I hit that running. I was like, I'm not going to fail out of this school. I really, I did well my first few tests just because I didn't want to fail out.
Yeah, well, you took advantage of the opportunity you were given.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, where'd you go to medical school?
Jefferson Medical College
In Philadelphia.
Right. It's not called Jefferson anymore. I don't know what it's called, to be honest with you, but I still call it Jefferson. That's what my certificate says, or my diploma says.
Right.
I think it's named
Were you
after
living in inner city?
a lot of money.
Were you living in inner city, Philly?
I was, yeah, I was right in the city. Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to the Reading Terminal. That's the place that I know the best.
Yeah, we would go there every once in a while. We were probably about 5 blocks from that. Yeah, we were in a good part of the city.
Yeah. So Philadelphia's got this place for people that don't know called Reading Terminal. It's just a giant,
Yeah.
I don't know, what would you call it? It's more than a warehouse. It's really big on the inside, and it's a cross between a food court and a farmer's market.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But the food is amazing. They sell food, any kind of food I think that you could think of. You could just walk around there and find everything from Asia to Africa to Europe to, anywhere, and a barbecue. But boy, they got oh my gosh, I always forget the name. There's two guys that make the pork sandwich that became famous.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Denix and I forget the other one. But man, it's great. It made one of those Food Channel networks a while ago. Called it the best sandwich in America.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah. Roasted pork, broccoli rabe, sharp provolone. Ooh, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Come on, work with me here, Aquaman. Stuff's good.
you would definitely want to go to that place hungry, because there's a bunch of different places to choose from
Yeah.
for any mood you're in: breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert,
Right.
whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So medical school, when did you decide that you wanted to specialize in pediatrics and further subspecialize in pulmonology? How did you make that decision?
Well, so I came back to residency here. I actually did a med peds residency, so that's internal medicine and pediatrics. And so it's both residencies are 3 years, but if you put them together, it becomes a 4-year residency. You do 2 years of pediatrics, 2 years of internal medicine. And it's just, it's like the utility knife of residencies. You can pretty much go into anything after that if you want to specialize, if you want to, hang up a shingle out in the middle of nowhere and be a generalist. So I thought that's what I was going to do. I thought I was going to do internal medicine and pediatrics in rural Pennsylvania or rural United States somewhere. But then I rotated in the ICU and loved pulmonary physiology. I mean, I really, that was what I loved to come home and study. And, even though you're dead tired, you want to learn more about it. And I got really good advice. And I give this advice to every medical student that rotates with me. I got really good advice when I was a third-year medical student. I was rotating with an ophthalmology resident. I'm like, why do you want to study? Why do you want to take care of people's eyes? And he's like, I just find them intrinsically interesting. Everything else in medicine can change, but the subject matter doesn't. So, like, you could be on with an attending physician who's just really cranky,
Mm-hmm.
and that can taint your view of, cardiology. For me, it was cardiology. I was on with a super cranky cardiologist when I was in Philadelphia.
Does last name begin with N?
No, no, this isn't Philadelphia. This guy,
Philadelphia. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
I
Sorry.
called him as a third-year medical student, and he was like, wait a minute, who are you? And I was like, I'm Jonathan Spar. I'm a third-year medical student. He's like, I don't even talk to interns. Put your resident on. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So anyway, you can be on, with a super cranky attending physician. You might be on pediatrics during RSV season, and it's just horrible. But the thing that doesn't change is what you study. And I just love the lungs. I'm still learning about how the lungs work. And it's much, much more interesting than kidneys or pancreases or brains or whatever. The lungs are very interesting to me. So that was great advice. And I give that advice to all the medical students that rotate with.
Yeah, that's good advice, man. You just work in the area that you love if you can.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Very fortunate to be able to work in the area that I love.
Yeah. And then you specialize more in cystic fibrosis. How did that happen?
So I think going back to the reason why I chose internal medicine pediatrics is because I thought, I'd have this panel of patients that I'd get to know over years, like, babies born, I can continue to take care of them when they're 18, 30, 40, 50. Well, probably not 50. My career wouldn't last that long. But anyway, you get the point. I can develop relationships with patients. And in a lot of specialties, you can develop relationships like that. But then in a lot of specialties, especially if you're in the ICU, you're taking care of, you have an intense relationship with someone for like a couple weeks, hopefully less than a couple weeks. You get them better and they move on and you just never see them again. The cystic fibrosis part of things was, it's a chronic disease, lasts your lifetime. You're going to need a doctor to help take care of you with that disease. And that really appealed to me, building those relationships with families and patients over years, and still being able to study the lungs and how cystic fibrosis affects it.
That's great. So what is the life expectancy of somebody with cystic fibrosis?
Well, that's a great question. It's above 60 at this point. I think it's 62, but it's been...
Really? I didn't realize it was that high.
Yeah, so that's what I love about quoting that statistic to people who have been in medicine. You've been in medicine for, 30 years now, right? And I'm sure that when you started, you heard the diagnosis of cystic fibrosis, and you're like, ooh, that's not good. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I thought it was like 35 to 40 or early 40s.
So when I started in 2006, it was 29. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just gone leaps and bounds because of the fantastic research and treatments that have come for cystic fibrosis. And actually, I'm going to refer you to an ESPN. I think I mentioned this at the beatdown, or maybe you weren't there. But there's a great ESPN. It used to be the 30 for 30. Now it's ESPN 60. Just came out, I think, last month. The Bloomer Esiason story, or Gunnar Esiason, his son, has cystic fibrosis. And if you want to learn more about cystic fibrosis and the great things that are happening with cystic fibrosis, that's a great microcosm of a story that you can take in. It's really well done. It's on ESPN right now. Check it out. Great. Well worth the 60 minutes of watching.
Yeah, you did tell me about that. I have not watched it yet, but yeah, you did tell me about that.
So,
in one of our, go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, so when excuse me, when Gunnar Esiason was born, and I think he was 91, the life expectancy was 19 years of age.
Right.
Yeah. So in 30 years, he's a little over 30 right now. Just improved significantly.
That's really dramatic improvement.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
To go from average, life expectancy of 19 to 60 something. That's incredible.
Well, and Gunnar was, he was not doing well at 19, 20, 21 years of age. They were talking either transplant or end of life with him. Well, first of all, he ended up falling in love, which is important. When my patients get serious girlfriends or get married, that's actually very, very good for them. It makes them a whole lot healthier. They got something to live for. They got someone to make sure that they're doing the treatments and getting the care that they need. So first of all, he fell in love. And then second of all, we had great therapies that came out around the time when he was getting really sick.
Yeah.
Again, I teared up probably about 3 or 4 times watching that piece. Jeremy Schaap does it for ESPN, and they did a great job. So if you want to learn more
that's
about
really interesting.
check it out.
The getting married is good for you.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
Wow.
It's good for me.
Is there and it's good for you in a lot of ways. There's a lot of studies that show that. But anyway, that I would not have, if I had thought about it, somebody asked me about, maybe I would have said, yeah, they'll probably do better, but not something that would have crossed my mind. That's very interesting. What I know, so a couple of things. First of all, taking care of these CF kids, is there a difference between the compliance? Because you really got to be super compliant. There's a lot of medicines you got to do, a lot of preventive measures and stuff like that. So is there a difference between boys and girls in their level of compliance as they become teenagers and young adults?
I don't know if I could point to a study that proves that for sure, but anecdotally, what I've been seeing, the teenage boy thinks that they're going to live forever and they're indestructible, right? So, fortunately for boys, they do a little bit better than girls in the teenage years as far as cystic fibrosis is concerned. And I don't know that anyone knows the reason for that. There's a lot of hypotheses about hormones and, certain infections that you can get that might decrease your life expectancy. But yeah, boys get away with it until they don't. And then it's usually around early to mid-teens when they realize, oh my gosh, I probably should have been doing all those treatments back in my teenage years. And that's another thing that's a challenge, that you don't learn about in medical school. You learn about the biomechanics of disease and how to treat it, but you don't really appreciate these things, all these other things that go into health. And, the teenage brain is one of those things that can have pretty significant effect on health.
Figured. Yeah. The other thing I was thinking about is you go into this specialty, you not only get to know these patients, but I'm sure that you develop serious, meaningful relationships with their parents too, because you're getting all these young kids and you see them frequently. And so, you really got to navigate those waters too, right? You got to take care of the parents, keep them educated, because there's a lot writing on this as far as the parents' ability to take care of their kids.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, that's pediatrics in general, though. You get into pediatrics thinking, oh yeah, I love working with kids, but you have to love working with the family, because that's their support, especially early on. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, that's one of the joys of working in pediatrics is developing these relationships, long-lasting relationships with families. I mean, it's Christmas. I'm still getting Christmas cards from my Pittsburgh families, and it's fun every year to see these kids older and older and older and healthy. It's really rewarding.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Speaking of relationships, let's flip the script here a little bit, or take a little turn. When did you meet your wife?
During residency. Yep. Yeah, we met over a sick little girl in the NICU. So yeah, so I credit Dial Up's wife for EHing me to F3, and then there's this little girl whose name obviously I cannot say, but my wife and I credit this little girl as introducing us. Yep, she was handing off her patients. So my very first day of residency, I met her actually. We'd actually met a couple of months before because I was a medical student, but the first like formal introduction was over the bed of this little girl in the NICU, who introduced us, and I was a fresh-eyed intern just coming in from my first day of residency, and she was a first year turning into a second year, and so she was handing off her patients to me.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so, how long have you guys been married? I'm putting you on the spot here.
Oh yeah.
This is dangerous.
23 years. Yeah.
23. That's okay.
No,
23 years, and you got.
We got married in 2022. Yeah.
All right.
Do the math
Okay.
today.
And you got we mentioned your kids already.
Yeah.
One's named Gingivitis. One's named Topspin, right?
Yep, those are the two girls. So Caroline is
2 girls.
Gingivitis, Elise is Topspin, and then Dane is the middle one, and his F3 name is Fang. So
Fang.
Yeah, we've all drank the Kool-Aid in the Spar family. It's
Yeah.
they know how
Yeah,
good
that's
it is.
wonderful. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, let's get back into F3 then. You already told us your origin story and that kind of thing. So, a few questions. Number one, why do you keep going to F3? What does it mean to you?
Why do I keep on going to F3? I think it's habit. Honestly, I think I wake up at 5:20 now, or even before that, without the alarm, and I'm like, well, I'm going to F3. There's no question about it. That's just what I'm
Right.
doing. Do the coaching for the swim team during the winter, but that's only November to March, and so my routine gets switched up a little bit during those times. On Mondays and Wednesdays I don't go, but like I just wake up and I'm like, there's nothing else I'd be doing at this point. It's like going to work or brushing your teeth. It's my habit at this point. It is a great habit to have.
Absolutely. And this past, not today, but a week ago, from a week back, today at what do we call it? Shake and Bake. It's our running AO on Monday mornings at 6 a.m. Here in the land of the ice and the snow, it was 2 degrees.
Yeah.
And Aquaman was there. He's standing to my right during the Name-A-Rama, and he says, Jonathan Spar, 52, Iceman. So it was cold, folks. We had, what did we have, 8 guys? Something like that?
Yeah, we
showed up at 2 degrees.
It was 40 degrees warmer today, and we only had 5 guys today. But yeah, no, 4 guys today. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4 guys.
Yeah, yesterday it hit the 60s. I don't know what's happening, but it won't last long. But yeah, a week ago it was 2 degrees out, and if anybody wants to look it up, F3 Susquehanna Valley. I actually put it on the national F3 station too. Our backblast a little bit. Well, it wasn't our backblast. I didn't write the backblast, but I wrote up a little thing and I put pictures. 2 of the guys with beards. They're just totally frozen beards, frosted over. But yeah, that's the cool workouts, right? I mean, so what workouts really stand out to you? Those kind of workouts, or hardness? Like what? Tell me some beatdowns that kind of stood out for you.
Those, my very first one. Yeah, it was in the rain, and I think the reason why I was hooked from the very beginning was because it was wet. It was really, really wet on the ground, still raining. Big Green had the cue, and he didn't change it. We were on the ground, on our 6s doing ab workouts. We were doing, Merkins. Our hands were getting all muddy and wet and everything like that. TC had his frog suit on. I remember he was prepared. He came in like, I don't know, it was like garbage bags or something. Like
Yeah, thin crust. He dresses up quite well for the weather.
He does. But like the rest of us weren't prepared for it to be that wet. And Big Green was like, we're doing the workout, and I don't care if you're getting wet. I don't care that it's 30 degrees out and you're gonna be shivering by the end of this. I was like, yeah, these are my kind of guys. We're gonna do this no matter what. Always held outdoors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Any other kind of workouts stand out to you? What's your favorite workout, or are they all your favorite? And we got a boot camp, and we got running, AOs. What do you like the best?
You know what? I have one that I came up with called bear crawls and big boys. And it's just monotonous. You're bear crawling for a minute, and then you're doing big boys for a minute. And it's just over and over and over. And I don't know why I love that one so much. I know a lot of guys like to mix it up, but I like when you just work something really, really hard. Like when I'm done with that, like the big boys are hurting my abs just as much, or the bear crawls are hurting my abs just as much as the big boys are. So, I like it when you hit something hard, and you feel at the end, you're like, oh yeah, that woke up a whole different muscle group that wasn't really awake before we started. Yeah, I like those.
Absolutely. All right. So you're a leader at work. I mean, you're the director. How did you become the director of nephrology? I mean, the lungs are pretty far from the kidneys. How does that happen?
Oh, so let me tell you, we have no pediatric nephrologists right now.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm one of those guys at work that my boss Frank knows he can ask me to do something, and I have a hard time saying no. I'm getting better at saying no, but I have a hard time saying no. And so, we lost our pediatric nephrologist. She went off for greener pastures, and we have a PA who is probably, well, no, I shouldn't say probably, who is a better pediatric nephrologist than most of the pediatric nephrologists in the United States. She's been doing this for quite some time. She has great experience. She knows her patients really well. And they just needed someone to kind of help her with the mundane stuff of managing a department. And so that's where it came to me. So, and the lungs and the kidneys, they do develop around the same time in utero.
You're going with that.
In fact, if you don't have good kidneys, you don't have good lungs, because I don't know.
Yeah, well, okay.
You your urine in utero, and so if your kidneys aren't making urine, then your lungs don't develop. So, yes.
All right, yeah.
But it's funny because we have this relationship with CHOP, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and currently one of the higher ups at CHOP is he's a pediatric urologist, and he and I crossed paths, or actually knew each other pretty well in Pittsburgh. And so I just ran into him at a meeting that we're having, and I was like, oh yeah, now I'm the interim director for nephrology, and this guy knows me pretty well. He's like, you are not qualified. I was like, I know, Steve, I know I'm not qualified, but I'm trying to find someone who is, so that's.
When did that happen?
A couple of years ago. Yeah.
Okay, so it's before you started F3.
Yeah, so pediatric nephrologists, rare as hen's teeth, and then trying to get one to come to Danville, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It's hard. So my main objective is finding someone. And I think
to replace yourself.
Was that?
To replace yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's probably why. I think Frank probably knew. He's like, I'm going to put him in this position. He's not going to like it, so he's going to have extra incentive to find someone to replace him. Yeah.
All right. Hey, Dial Up's back, folks. I don't know if he could talk.
Can you hear?
We have you on audio, Dial Up?
Can you hear?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, we had a little power failure here. So, thing is, I could hear you.
Oh, my Lord.
Great conversation without me. See, you guys don't need.
Listen, Dial Up, you got to pay that bill every month. You got to pay that power bill every month.
Yeah, I got someone that does that.
I do too. All right. Well, we're kind of getting through the F3 questions. We already went through. Well, you heard the whole thing so far.
Yeah.
So what I was getting at before I got sidetracked by asking about the nephrology thing is you're a leader at work, and F3 is a leadership development program. How has F3 helped you in your leadership?
I think, well, so I'm going to put a plug in for F3. I've done a few leadership courses as part of my work, and F3 definitely more fun. You can definitely say that as far as leadership skills
Amen to that.
are concerned. But the reason why I like it is because you get to learn how people are leading in different capacities. And so, like, when I hear Cowbell or Wonder Pickle or even Puffy, Peloton, talk about how they lead their teams, they're in different industries, right? And so you can take that to your industry and say, how would this work in medicine? And guys just have really great ideas, and if you get them all together and they're willing to share, I mean, that's the best way to learn, right?
Yeah.
So F3's part of it is networking.
Yeah. So I think I've taken a lot of tips that I've gotten from you guys, put it into my pediatric pulmonary director role, and it's worked out really quite nicely.
One of the things you told us multiple times is that by nature you're kind of introverted, and F3 kind of pulled you out of there, and you purposely immersed yourself in it for that reason. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't like to be the guy. Like I would still prefer to be in the pack, leading from the pack, or helping others to lead from the pack. I don't like to be the guy up front. But
yet he cues a lot. Yet you cue a lot.
Yeah, it is fun yelling at you guys.
Well,
how responsive we are is another story.
That's true. Yeah,
we're generally pretty but he is known. The one thing, while I was disconnected, you were talking about your bear crawls and
big boys.
Big boys.
Right? I would thought you were going to say it was one of your workouts involving chalk, because you're known for a lot of great cues where chalk is involved of some type of game, usually in scoring system, or making square.
Yeah.
But always fun. You get that right mix. Fun, but hard in a lot of your workouts.
Yeah, it's fun to use your imagination when you're coming up with these workouts. Sometimes it works, sometimes it just doesn't at all.
Hold on. This wouldn't be...
That is true. Sometimes it's brilliant in your head, but it doesn't come out that way.
Hold on. Yeah. This would not be a complete podcast unless we talked about what I think is one of his most creative cues. Murder bunny golf.
Murder bunny golf.
Murder bunny golf. Tell
yeah, it's as bad as it sounds, folks. You want to describe that?
Can I? Like, that's one of those cues you just have to do it. Like, I could try to explain it. Well, so basically it's 9 holes of golf doing different things with a coupon. And your first hole is murder bunnies. So you have a certain amount of time to matriculate your coupon towards the first hole. And you're doing murder bunnies the first time. But yeah, it's a beatdown. Yeah, it doesn't sound that bad. You think, oh, it's a nice leisurely game of golf. But when you're doing murder bunnies to get your coupon to the first hole, and then I don't know, what else did we do? We did rifle carries. My favorite memory from murder bunny golf was seeing Legend, who at the time, probably 70.
The triple respecter with cancer.
He was 70 or 72 or something like that. And he figured, I'm just going to run with this coupon above my head to get to the hole. He had a hole in one because he got there so quickly. Yeah. I had to actually change the rules. I was like, okay, you cannot run with blocks. You cannot run with coupons because...
Danville was right behind him. But yeah, Legend took off like a shot with that thing over his head. We were all surprised.
Yeah.
And he has since needed shoulder surgery. So just so you all know that.
Well, these things happen.
I don't know if it was related. He didn't need the surgery right afterwards, but yeah.
Yeah.
Poor guy's on the IR now. All right. So, Dial Up, you got any other questions?
Can you guys still hear me? Because I seem like I might have lost my connection again.
Yeah, you're in and out.
Yeah.
You're kind of in and out, but we could hear you.
We're unstable here in Riverside, Pennsylvania, apparently. But no, I think, I just wanted to get those couple things out there. The chalk and the murder bunny golf.
Yeah, actually I just bought new chalk the other day.
There you go.
$2.
Something's coming.
I actually had to buy something else besides the chalk because they don't let you charge for anything less than $5.
All right. Well, more chalk workouts in the future coming from Aquaman.
Let's go.
All right. What do you have in store for this year, Aquaman? You got any, you led a CSOP not too long ago, which was quite memorable CSOP. Are you planning on doing another one?
Yeah, sure. I'll do a CSOP in the spring. Yeah, I think the thing that made the CSOP memorable was that it was pouring down rain, and we were scaling a mountain. Well, it's really a hill, but in Danville it was a mountain.
It was pretty steep.
Through briars and stuff like that. So,
and it was like a shale pit that you like literally
carrying a coupon.
And you're climbing in the shale, and you're going backwards, like you're just riding down the shale bank. It was a scramble.
Yeah, you take a step forward, and your foot kind of drags down halfway.
2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Exactly.
And foreclosure.
Yeah, rumor has it. Dial Up loves to tell the story. He's breaking in and out, folks. Oh yeah, go ahead. That's what I was going to talk about.
Foreclosure bit the dust coming down off of the hill or the mountain and looked like a cartoon character, completely rigid, like toppling end over end over end. I thought he was going to be severely hurt.
I was like, "Are you doing wheels through the hill?" Yeah.
Somehow he emerged unscathed.
Legs right in front of me. I'm like, what is? Like, I shouldn't be seeing your feet right now.
There's got to be a little danger, or it isn't a good CSOP, right?
Yeah, I will do the CSOP in the spring because there's probably a better chance of rain in the spring, and that's
right.
I think that's what made it.
I led the last CSOP. I didn't get us wet. A year ago, I led the CSOP in the fall. I got us in the river, and that was the most disgusting experience. Ladies and gentlemen, the Susquehanna River, at least at the time we were in it, smelled so bad. It was slimy. We're doing merkins and flutter kicks in it, and everybody but Porky's. He didn't want to get in there, but all of us have, as far as I know, we haven't had cancer from it or anything. But man, that was gross. We got to find a creek. We have a creek. We got to get in the creek instead of the river. I thought that was going to be a good idea, but anyway, yeah, getting us wet with rain is much better than getting in that river. But he's committed, Dial Up. He's committed now. CSOP in the spring from Aquaman.
And with Aquaman, we carried our coupons and rucksacks to the top of the mountain. Came back down. Everybody thought it was over. And he says, now we've got to take this one more coupon to the top of the mountain to lay claim for the winner of Cowbell being the winner and getting it to the top. And I know, I looked at him and I was like, are you bleeping me? I was like, we're not going to the top of this thing again. We went we went to the top again.
That was a beautiful moment. I saw your face and you're like, no, we're not really doing this, are we? I just lost. Oh, no, I guess I did. Yeah, I saw your face and you're like, no, we're not doing it. I'm like, no, I'm serious. We're going back up.
Very cool. All right. Well, folks, he's committed for the CSOP in the spring. And I don't know if you'll ever hear from us again about this. We do our, as a lot of regions did once COVID hit, make your own CSOPs up. And we do at least two a year. There's no limit, but we do at least 2 a year. I just led one in the fall. It was 3 hours long. So we'll see what Aquaman comes up with in the spring.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So,
I never thought.
I got to get you out of here with the last 2 questions, my brother. All right. First of all, folks, I don't know if you could tell from this, but he's a humble guy, but he's got a great heart. He's one of the guys who spearheaded the last 2 years one of our Christmas projects. We do 2 different Christmas projects every year, and one of them is Geisinger, the local healthcare center we mention a lot, has an opportunity for everyone to adopt a family, and you get a wish list basically from the children of the family and stuff for Christmas, and we fill it at the PAX. We fill that wish list. And often then some, but Aquaman spearheads that and makes sure that gets taken care of. So he's a charitable guy, he's a humble guy, he's a man of God, and he's a great leader. And what better calling can you have than to take care of kids, especially kids facing such a bad disease like cystic fibrosis. So anyway, he's a high impact man, but I got 2 questions for you, my brother, that we ask everybody. And you probably know them if you've listened to us, and I know you have. The first question is, if you're to pick somebody who would be your inspiration, your hero, who you look up to, who would it be?
That's pretty easy. That's my dad. Yeah. I mean, he's been retired at least 10 years now. And, just the other week, people are like, oh, how's your dad doing? I miss that guy. He's the best guy ever. And it came up, I don't know if you guys ever got to experience this, but he used to, this is like super nerdy thing, but like this was his thing. He used to play the glass harmonica. Anybody know what that is?
Yeah.
Harmonica. So you fill up wine glasses to certain levels, and then you wet your fingers and you run it along the rim, and it makes a tone, right? So he used to bring that in over Christmas and play Christmas carols in the cafeteria. And so that's why I came up just the other week is, does your dad still do that? And, people just remember that. And,
Yeah.
He was a high impact, being a high impact man, at that point, he had a great impact on people's lives. And so, yeah, that's an easy question.
Yeah, very good. I had a feeling you'd pick him. And the last question is, this is your chance to speak to the men of America. What's your message for the men of America?
Go all in for F3. It'll change your life. It really will. We were just talking about this at, the Circle of Trust on Saturday, right? Literally your daughter connected with you about a guy who was in crisis and got him hooked up with F3, and it really can save lives. Go all in. You got a great brotherhood. The minute you step foot on that field, your very first beatdown, you have friends for life, and guys who watch your back. And yeah, so that's my advice.
That's great advice. And so, yeah, that story is my daughter heard from a guy that I should ask her how she knew him. She told me and I can't remember. Didn't know him for very long, but stayed in touch somehow. And he's got basically no family and had a rough life. He's an ex-Marine who suffered something that is he's still dealing with during his experience as a Marine. And he went out to Pittsburgh to work and with a girlfriend he had, and I don't know how long they're together, but they ended up breaking up. So then he's all alone out there, and he put a message somewhere. I can't remember, but somehow ended up my daughter connecting with him. He put out some picture or meme, something from the internet that suggested suicide. And he told my daughter that he's at rock bottom and he's got nobody and all that. And my daughter, God bless her, she said, well, you should go to F3 out there if there is one. And she asked me, she said, Dad, is there F3 out in Pittsburgh? I said, yeah, there sure is. And so she said, well, can we connect him with somebody out there? And I got a hold of Maxime. So shout out to Maxime. He's the Northeast Sector Q Nantan out there. We had him on our podcast in the past. And so I had his contact information and I told Maxime what's going on. And he's like, hey, we got some ex-veterans or ex-military guys here. And he lived like where he lived. He was like just a couple minutes from one of their Saturday AOs, Moon Rising, I think it's called. So, and Maxime doesn't go to that one, but he, not long after that same night, the night before, so this is a Friday night, Maxime sends me a text. He said, I just spoke with him. I'm meeting him at the AO tomorrow morning, and he showed up. So I'm not going to share his name or anything like that because I didn't get permission, obviously. But shout out to Maxime and the guys out at the Pittsburgh F3 and at that AO. And, that's the story that Aquaman is referring to. So all I did was get a hold of Maxime and send him this man's contact information. So I didn't really play a huge role, but that's the connection. And a couple things, you said your family recognized how much F3 has meant to you. Well, obviously my daughter recognized how much it means to the men around here and seeing what it's done in my life. So, and she was wise enough to do that and try to help the guy out. So anyway, that story is still unfolding, folks. He showed up on Saturday, so that's the first step.
That's awesome.
Good word, Aquaman. F3 can save lives. As Slaughter said a couple years ago when we interviewed him, he said F3 can save the world. Anyway, guys out there, keep at it. What you're doing counts. It works. It's the culture of F3 is what we need in our society. It's open to all men, and we freely give out everything that we do at F3. Right? We freely give out the help, the brotherhood, sometimes material things, sometimes money, but most of all, just being there for one another, bearing one another's burdens, and it works. So keep at it, men. So I think Dial Up. Obviously, we just spoke to another high-impact man.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did for sure.
Now, if you're like one of those old kung fu movies, your lips move and then we hear the words a little bit later. For anybody who's watching us on YouTube.
It's Dial Up.
All right. So Aquaman, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. Keep up the good work. And I got a feeling you're going to might be involved in some other leadership things going on at F3 in the future. We'll see.
I appreciate you guys.
Yep, as always. So I don't know if you're going to be there Wednesday morning, but if you're there Wednesday morning's beat down, I'll see you there. Dial Up's got you got the queue, right? Dial Up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As long as my wife lets me do it, because we are leaving for Florida. We got a 12 o'clock flight, so I'll be cutting it close.
Yeah. Yeah, Dial Up's his lips said 1,400 words, but the words that came out, yes. All right, God bless you guys. Aquaman, thanks for joining us, man. See you later. Have a good night. Well, Dial Up disappeared. I don't know if we're still recording or not. We could cut this out at the end if we have to. But if anybody's listening to us, still this makes on the airwaves, this is what we do at the end. man. Good talking to you, brother. We got about 13 minutes, and we got to record our next one, man. So thanks for doing this with us.
Yeah, thank you. We'll talk to you later.
All right. God bless you, brother. See ya.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I would like to thank our guests for joining us and sharing their story of becoming a high-impact man. More information and resources can be found at highimpactman.com. If you like this podcast, please consider following us on our social media pages or email us at him@highimpactman.com. That is HIM at highimpactman.com. The High Impact Man podcast has a new episode every week, and you can find them on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Google Podcast platforms. Have a great week, everyone.